Hi there, my name is Jadel Glucki and I'm the development manager at Horizons International, and we build a Quality Essentials Suite product, which we like to call QES for short. What we're going to be doing today is I'm going to show you how to set up inspections and tests in order to use our powerful spreadsheet capability. I'll show you how to use Excel to make your life a little bit easier if you're creating complex calculations. And lastly, we'll open up the all-in-one results entry and generate some values with our testing and make sure that the spreadsheet works properly. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'll take a look. I'll show you the formula that we'll be using. So percent is equal to volume times a normality times a constant times 100. Now, the normality and the constant stay the same. Your normality can change over time, but the customer that we're doing this for is going to be embedding the normality within all of their test spreadsheets. And if the normality changes, then they'll edit those spreadsheets and modify the values. So we have a mass and a volume here, and we'll be using that with our testing data. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the inspection entry form. And in that form, I have a inspection called volume. So if I go into the inspection code volume, okay, and it's basically an inspection that has no special features about it, except that it has 3 inspection tests assigned, as well as the AB plastic flake item. Standard setup. The mass is to fill in the mass that we have. The volume test is to enter in the volume. And lastly, the spreadsheet test is to take all of these values and calculate a result. All right. So the tests, if we open up the test entry window, they're very simple. So I'm going to filter the test code for VL. Okay, so here's our 3 tests. The volume is a specific amount of values, sample size of 1, value decimal places is 2. The mass is exactly the same, except it has a value decimal places of 4. And lastly, the spreadsheet has a decimal place of 4, and it has the spreadsheet checked off. So we can edit the spreadsheet, and I'll show you the spreadsheet. So when you hit edit, it asks you what's being changed. Initial values. Okay, and then after you click edit, the spreadsheet will come up, and it has base data, user-defined, results data, calculations, and custom. So I'm not actually going to go into those right now because it's easier to see with actual data in these sheets. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do some all-in-one results testing, which will put data into these columns for me, and then it makes it a heck of a lot easier to create a calculation. So I'm going to save and close, and I'm going to save this, and now I'm going to open up the all-in-one results entry window to show you how we can create kind of a template in Excel. So we have our all-in-one results entry. I'm going to click new. Okay, and we're going to do AB plastic flake with the inspection of volume. And I'm going to just pick an arbitrary lot number. One thing about this is that once you get to this point, you probably want to be using your test system in order to create the spreadsheet. The reason that you want to use your test system is that you can only void documents within the all-in-one results entry. So if you don't want test data in your live database, it's probably a good idea to to have a different system to create this. So I'm going to hit create tests. And now we have our mass and volume in the spreadsheet. So I'm going to take the values that the customer gave us, and I'm going to enter it into the mass and the volume. So 5.0214, 5.0214, tab. And then the other one is 7.56. So 7.56. Okay. Now, instead of hitting calculate, because there's really nothing to calculate, I'm going to click view. What that does is it opens a copy of your test spreadsheet, but it enters all the data into the system. So I'm going to click view. Okay, so it opens up the spreadsheet. Now, please note, this is a read-only version of the spreadsheet, but if you'll notice, the result data information is filled in, as well as the user-defined information is filled in. If we had any base data set up, the base data would be listed in this column right here. Okay. So the calculations, right now we don't have a calculation, so it's sitting at 0. The custom sheet is a spreadsheet that you can use where you can put any information you want into here. And no matter what happens to the quality system, these values will never be changed. So for example, if you were to put a calculation right here, if we ever modified this to add more values to this grid, anything that you put over here will become erased when you generate your spreadsheet. So you don't want to put anything in any of these sheets except for the single value in the calculations sheet and anywhere in the custom sheet. Okay, so to make my life easier, I want to save this to Excel, create my formulas, and then import that Excel spreadsheet back into the Quality Essential Suite system. So let's do that now. I hit File and Save As. Okay, and then I'm going to save it as temp spreadsheet. So I save. Okay, so I'm done here. So I'm going to close this internal spreadsheet within Quality. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Excel and open up that temp spreadsheet. Okay, so I opened up this temp spreadsheet, and the one thing that you'll notice is that it has the results data in here. So let's start creating our calculations. So on the custom sheet, we're going to have 4 different things because our formula, and let's just take this. Okay, so percent is equal to the volume times normality. So we need to get the volume, and we also need to get the mass from the results data spreadsheet. So in order to do that, we're going to use a VLOOKUP formula. And the VLOOKUP formula, let's do this, mass, volume, normality, normality, and constant. Okay, so we know the normality is 0.1008. We know that the constant is 0.017. And now we have to get the mass and the volume. So this is equal to VLOOKUP. And then I tab. What's the lookup value? Well, the lookup value in double quotes is VL space volume. Oh, mass all. Okay, so comma, the table array. Now, this is where Excel comes in handy because this functionality is not available in the Excel version that's inside of Quality. I want to be able to select the table array, which is results data. So with Excel, you simply click on the results data and you can highlight the table where your data is going to be found. Now, one thing about highlighting is, if you'll notice, if I go over top of, A to D, up in the top here, it says results data, exclamation point, A to D. If you go over top of E, what happens is we've created a range called results data, which is the columns A to E. So when you go over top of A to E, it automatically allows you to use that range. Okay, so we've done that. So now I hit comma. The column index number. Which column do we want to return the value from? Well, I want this column B, which is 2. Okay, and then a range lookup. Do we want an approximate match or an exact match? For this particular formula, we want an exact match. So then we do the end, and then we hit enter. So what happens is it looks through that table of data in the results data sheet, and it finds the mass all test, and it puts the value into here. So we're going to do exactly the same thing for the volume. And in fact, I just realized it might actually be easier is if you call this VL volume, as well as VL mass, all. That means that it's a little bit easier to know what code the VLOOKUP is looking for. So I'm really just going to take this, copy it, and paste it, and then I simply change this to VL volume. Okay, so and automatically it changes to 7.56. So lastly, we need to create the formula. So final value, this is equal to, open the volume times the normality times the constant times 100, close, divided by the mass. And that's it. So I hit enter, and it calculates my final value. Now, the last thing that I want to do is this value needs to be returned in the calculations area. So I'm going to say this is equal to this, and I hit enter. All right. So basically what we're doing is we're taking the formula from the custom sheet and taking the value and just putting it into the calculations. So that's it. We're done with our temp spreadsheet. So I'm going to click save. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to quality, and we're going to edit the test spreadsheet. Then we're going to import this temp spreadsheet over top of the test spreadsheet. I know that sounds a bit complicated, but sometimes working with Excel is the comfort zone, so we allow that to happen. So I'm going to close this. Now I'm going to go back to the test entry. I'm going to click on my spreadsheet type test, and I'm going to say edit spreadsheet. An initial load of formulas. And edit. Okay, so now we have this spreadsheet. So I'm going to say File, Open, and I open up the temp spreadsheet. Now, what we want to do is we want to clear this data. And we want to clear this data because if these particular tests don't exist, or something's different, or like for example the user defined, well, as you are testing different items, these user-defined fields are different. So we don't want any data to accidentally come over when we're testing different items. So I'm going to delete all of these things, and the calculation stays the same, and then the custom really stays the same. All right, so these might be saying NA right now, but they won't when we actually do the calculation on the all-in-one results entry. So I'm going to go back to actions. You can't use this save because that's saving it as an Excel spreadsheet. So we go back to actions and we say save and close. Okay, and then we click save on the test entry window. So we've set up our test. Now we want to go to the all-in-one results entry and create a new document. Right now, if I click to calculate, it's actually taking the old spreadsheet. We need to refresh this document. One thing you could do is say close and open, but because we're in a test system, I'm just going to say new. Okay, so AB plastic flake. The inspection is volume, and the lot number is ABWK001. Create tests. I'm going to enter in my values, which are 5.0214. I'm going to enter in my volume, which is 7.56. Then I enter my spreadsheet type test and I click calculate. And it puts in the value of 2.579, which is the same as the spreadsheet. Now the spreadsheet, this is to 4 decimal places. The spreadsheet had 5 or 6 decimal places, so it automatically rounds up. So we say yes. And we're finished. So now it's using those values to calculate a number in this spreadsheet column. So if we say calculate, it recalculates the result value and the pass and fail as well. So that's pretty much it for the spreadsheet type tests. If you have any questions, please contact our support email and we'd be happy to help you. Thank you very much for watching and hope to see you in the next video.